Thank you for your patience. Our star performer is still not here, but we have rearranged our agenda, so we're going to switch it around a little bit to try to make maximum use of your time. Before I call the meeting to order, if there's anyone here who would like to speak to the trustees on any matter, if you would sign in with the sheet outside, when your matter comes up, we will call upon you. Also, if you would unplug your cell phones for a little convenience as a housekeeping item. With that being said, I will call to order the special meeting of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust of July 28th, 2018. We do have a quorum, Mr. Counselor, correct? We do have a quorum. So we're going to handle some business that we can handle in a more routine fashion. The first is to approve the minutes of the May 15th, 2018 Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust.
So moved. We
have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it's whoa, here she is. Next on the agenda is to ratify the OCEDT claims. And I had asked Kathy to speak to several of the claims that are on there, just so we'd have a briefing on those. So we'll let her get settled here a minute. Kathy, the ones that I had questions on were the Oklahoma Industries Authority payment to Boeing 3. Mm-hmm. And then the one on the Oklahoma City Development Foundation and the Myriad Foundation, or Scissortail Park and Myriad.
Okay, the claim to Boeing is related to the reimbursement of costs that the Oklahoma Industries Authority incurred to purchase land and make it ready for the latest Boeing expansion in Oklahoma City. The trust approved a memorandum of agreement with the OIA in December of 2017. And so this claim is for $273,000, am I correct? And for legal and environmental cleanup costs. You've already reimbursed the trust $1.2 million for the land acquisition.
And that particular project was how many jobs?
It was 900 jobs, average salary of about $100,000 a year. I think recently you approved a claim for year 3 for 480 jobs. So they're still hiring actively at that center and expanding.
And then the other two I had questions on were the ones on the Myriad Gardens Foundation of $150,000. And the ones in Scissortail Park for $58,000.
Yeah, and these are just the regular claims that we see periodically from the Myriad Gardens Foundation and Scissortail Park to reimburse them for their management and operation expenses for those two facilities.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are the questions that I had. Any questions or comments? Seeing any action that the trustees would like to take?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. And it is so done. Next up is a presentation.
Yes, we're going to have a presentation, or I'm going to do a presentation this afternoon about the mixed-use development at Southwest 4th and Broadway, or at the Oklahoma City Boulevard and Broadway, to construct a mixed-use facility that will provide a parking garage for the convention center, the park, the convention center, hotel, and arena, and then it will also include residential development to help support our desire to grow the residential count downtown. So the timeline was that the Economic Development Trust authorized Urban Renewal to issue an RFP in January, shortly after the city and the OCEDT entered into a real estate purchase agreement with OG&E to purchase that site. In February, Urban Renewal issued the RFP. We received 4 proposals in May. We had a selection committee meeting on June 19th and made a selection that OCURA at their meeting on the 20th approved a conditional redeveloper designation for Boulevard Place, OKC LLC as the conditional redeveloper. The redevelopment team includes Rose Rock Development Partners, FSB for the design services, Key Construction, Wigand Omega Management, and Walker & Dunlop as their HUD financing expert. It'll be an 8-story project with 241 apartments, ground floor retail, professional services, and daycare space. At this time, the affordability count for the project is 34% of the units are affordable or are efficiency units with rents below market rate. One of the requirements in the RFP was for the project to include some level of affordable housing at the 80 to 120% of area median income. And we also had a preference for a daycare center because we recognize that quality daycare in downtown Oklahoma City is at a premium. These are some images of the project from the presentation and the request for proposal responses. This is the boulevard side of the building, and then this is an image showing the amenity deck. Just another view looking down the Oklahoma City Boulevard. The arena's on the north side of the street, and this is another picture of the pool deck. Images of the daycare, the retail along the boulevard, which could be a restaurant, and then the floor plans for the various units. The project does include a mix of 3, 2, 1-bedroom and efficiency units, and I think at this time, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce Tim Strange and have him introduce his team, and so get some faces with the names.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and trustees. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'd like to introduce the members of our team that are here today. On your left, from right to left, Stephen Watts, partner with Rose Rock Development Partners, Ashley Smith with Rose Rock, Gary Smith, president of Frankfurt Short and Brugia. I do have some handouts, some leave-behinds. Kathy's done a great job of explaining what we're about. We're excited about the opportunity to develop Boulevard Place. We think it'll be an iconic structure, 8-story steel frame, apartment building, a big league building for a big league city. And on the front page of the brochure here, you see that shot that Kathy had up earlier. On the back side are a few more images, some of which you've seen already. At the top of the page, there is the rooftop deck, outdoor seating, and pool area. Then the main shot of the building as well from the corner. On the left, the pool at the bottom, and on the right, a shot of an interior, the interior of one of our units. So if you flip open the inside, I want to just tell you a little bit more about it by the numbers. We are 8 stories tall, 261,000 square feet, of which about 22,000 square feet will be on the ground floor. That will be made up of the daycare center. Right now we have that at about 5,200 square feet, and about 17,500 square feet of other retail space, including on the corner of Broadway and the Boulevard will be a restaurant with outdoor seating, which we think will really be exciting and activate the street level and pedestrian experience. 241 units, 34% affordable, as Kathy said, and our entry level unit is priced at $650. Some of the things I just want to point out about the project, it does include the residential and retail, and the architectural design that Frankfurt Short Brugia has come up with really complements the other buildings within the area and pulls some of its design inspiration and materials from those buildings. We do have the childcare space, and that space actually has a dedicated secure entry separate from the entry for the tenants, as well as it has a secure playground area. It does include the mixed income housing, as we talked about, and our financing is already secured through Walker & Dunlop. We are committed to the HUD standards for green construction. I think that's a big thing. And we will be coordinating with CAPA and with Anthony at TAP regarding the design of the garage and Boulevard Place, and to see that those two mesh together and work together going forward. And we do have a national experience team with deep Oklahoma City roots we've all worked together before, and many of our relationships go back 40 years. So that's just kind of a brief overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions or have any of our team answer for you.
I think the one thing that I would add is that this project is going to require a high degree of coordination, probably more than any other project that we've ever done in Oklahoma City. So we felt it was really important that the teams be, first of all, identified as early as possible so that we can begin to work together, and also that they have relationships and are committed to Oklahoma City and what we're trying to achieve here. So we really appreciate all the work that all the proposers put into to being a part of the process, and look forward to working with the Boulevard Place group.
Great, thank you. We're already on the job. We attended the site coordination meeting last week and have a meeting with Anthony on Monday, so we're rocking and rolling. Thank you.
Questions from the trustees? Okay, no action is required on this. Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Good luck, and thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, in order to handle the high degree of coordination and to get from an empty piece of ground to what the pictures showed, the next resolution deals with that.
Correct. And one of the things that we thought would be important is to enter into a joint resolution between the Economic Development Trust and the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority to spell out the various roles and responsibilities for the project. So the project, because the land is owned by the City of Oklahoma City and OCEDT, we felt that OCEDT is the appropriate entity to lead the effort. We will be coordinating with COTPA. COTPA will own, finance, and operate the garage. We are jointly responsible for the design of the garage. There's an item on your agenda today to enter into the architectural services agreement with TAP Architecture. That will also go to COTPA at their next meeting in July. It puts the responsibility, the overall responsibility for coordinating the project with the surrogate general manager of the OCEDT, so that would be me. And we'll be working very closely with all the groups involved to make sure that this project's successful.
Is this project going to have valet service where we'll need to get your car out and in? That was unfair.
I don't get to operate the project after it's done, so you may have to ask other people that question. I just get to make sure it's coordinated.
Comments from the trustees? We have a motion to approve and a second. Please cast your votes. And it's approved. Now, mention was made of the architectural firm. That's the next item of our agenda. Kathy?
Right. The next item on your agenda is a joint agreement for architectural services for the parking garage component with TAP, the architectural partnership, for a fee of $2,455,000. The original request for proposals for architectural services contemplated a garage that would be at least 850 spaces. This contract does give us the flexibility to add spaces if we think they're necessary and can be supported financially. And it also gives us the flexibility to build a garage that could be expanded upon in the future if COTPA and the city so desire to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that in garages, it's the number of parking spaces are critical. But I tell you what, it would be wonderful if one garage was accommodating of oversized pickup trucks. They take up more than their fair share of space, and it's hard to maneuver around. And in the convention center arena, we're going to have a lot more of that. So just please, some consideration for large vehicles would be amazing.
Does that consideration for large vehicles include horse trailers?
No, but that's not a bad idea, no. But seriously, think about how you maneuver through the airport, through all our various garages. It's tough. So just a little extra space to maneuver would be wonderful. That's a point of view.
We will do our best.
Any other suggestion? Another pickup driver in the crowd.
I don't think John Williams drives a pickup truck.
Action from the board.
Sorry. I'm voicing the consumer. Do I have to make a motion that way? Wouldn't move approval.
Please cast your votes, and it is approved. Switching gears, it hardly seems possible that we're dealing with now a project that goes back to the early 2000s. Dell Computer, would you?
Yeah, almost 15 years ago now. Yeah, this item is for the extension and modification of the note for the Dell TIF district. It reduces the maximum principal amount from $3.5 million to $2 million. We have the same interest rates, and we're asking that it be extended to June 30, 2019.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Seeing no further discussion, please cast your votes, and it's approved. Next on the agenda is the item, is it E or F? F.
For an E.
Item E.
Yeah, item E is the joint resolution with the city renewing agreements of support in conjunction with the debt obligations of the Economic Development Trust. This is related to the debt issuance for TIF 4, the TIF 4 note, TIF 2, and the TIF 8 bonds.
Questions or comments?
This is something we do every fiscal year to renew these agreements.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Second, please cast your votes, and is approved. Now, item F, dealing with our accountant.
Yes, this is I think, a contract with the city's audit firm for $20,287 to do the annual audit of the Economic Development Trust financial statements. It is an increase of 3% over the prior year's cost.
And it also uses the same accounting firm that we do for the city.
That's right, yeah.
And so we're hoping that this coordination will provide some added benefit.
That's the city's policy, is that all of its beneficiary trusts use the same firm as the city of Oklahoma City.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, please cast your votes, and it is so done. Next deals with the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust relationship with the Alliance.
Right, this resolution is for the annual contract between the Economic Development Trust, the city, and the Alliance for Economic Development. The fee for this year's agreement is $525,000. It does represent a slight increase from last year. We took a reduction in our fee a couple of years ago, and we're asking that that amount be increased back to $525,000.
Questions or comments or action from the trustees?
Second.
We have a motion is second. No comments or questions. Please cast your votes, and it is approved. Next up is the contract needing approval for professional services with the Economic Development Foundation of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, again, this is the annual professional services agreement that the Economic Development Trust has with the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce Foundation, or the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation. The fee for this contract is $864,000, and I believe that that is the same as the current year.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions or?
We don't have a presentation, I take it. Move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Second. Would the past president of the Chamber of Commerce like to make a presentation?
Still current.
Still current president?
No. It's a 2-year deal.
We've been here a long time. I thought maybe your term had expired.
I just felt it might have been a conflict for me to move approval, so, okay. But if y'all are cool with it, that's...
Please cast your votes. And it is approved. Okay, next up, we have an agreement with what?
The Myriad Gardens
The Myriad
Foundation.
Gardens Foundation.
The next item is the annual agreement with the Myriad Gardens Foundation for their management of the Myriad Gardens. Their overall subsidy is reducing by 1%. Their management fee for the coming year will be $1,737,800. And it does include $150,000 for capital improvements that are needed at the facility.
We have a motion to approve. A second. Any questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is approved. Now we have a similar one with Scissortail Park.
Right. This item is with the Scissortail Park Foundation. This agreement is for $2,892,800. All of these agreements are funded through general fund transfers for the most part to the Economic Development Trust. The one with the Chamber, the Myriad Gardens, and this one. I think it should be noted that because the park is not open yet, because Scissortail Park is not open yet, there's a higher percentage of the overall budget that is being funded by the city because they don't have a facility yet to rent out, and program, and have events in. So we do anticipate that amount will go down in the coming years.
And the foundation members are the same as the Myriad Gardens Foundation?
No, I think they're slightly different. I believe they have actually a fairly different group of trustees that are a part of the Scissortail Park Foundation.
If you've had the opportunity to hear Maureen give a presentation on the management of both the Myriad Gardens and the Scissortail Park, it's amazing the intricacies that are involved and how the progress is going. And I think we're going to have a product that the citizens are going to be very well pleased with. After that commercial.
Would like to move approval?
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so done. And now we're ready for what? Item K?
The next item is related to the American Indian Cultural Center Foundation and the American Indian Cultural Center
Say that real
Foundation.
slow. We've made tremendous progress to get.
Yes, we have.
This is an important date. Go ahead.
Right. So Wiley is going to go through the parts of this agreement.
As you're aware, the city and the Chickasaw Nation began discussions back in about 2015, working on a deal to, at the state legislature's insistence, through a statute, that we take over operations and continued development of the unfinished American Indian Cultural Center and Museum. That resulted in an agreement with an entity of the Chickasaw Nation, the American Indian Cultural Center Land Development, LLC, which is a wholly owned but state-based LLC, not subject to the sovereign province of the Chickasaw Nation, but subject to Oklahoma law, entered into an agreement where we agreed to sell them the land that they're going to develop in exchange for $14 million. That was specifically allocated to pre-opening and post-opening operations of the museum. And then also in August of 17, the City Council designated the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust as the entity to oversee that management agreement and operations of the museum. So it's now in our custody and to take care of. And so in light of that, we've been in the process of negotiating a pre-opening agreement that will expire when the museum opens, and we will be negotiating another agreement for how it's to be managed after it opens. But this agreement covers the period between now and going forward till it opens. It actually began back in the beginning of this fiscal year. So the agreement calls for a payment of $1.5 million for all of the work the foundation has been doing during fiscal year 17-18. And it also authorizes a payment of $1.5 million for the upcoming fiscal year. And then After that, all other, if there's any other opening time left, that agreement will be negotiated between the city and the trust and the foundation. So this agreement covers for 2 years, plus whatever might happen in the third year. We hope it's open pretty close to that time and finished. I can report that it's my understanding that the state has authorized the issuance of bonds that they're obligated to do under the state statute, and hopefully those will be sold in the next 60 to 90 days, so that there'll be money to begin the construction. And this agreement is important because we want this foundation and the team that is put together to have an opportunity to work with the architects and the contractors to be sure that the facility has the facilities it needs to maximize revenue to cut down on subsidy for the city when we begin operating it. So I'd be glad to answer any questions about it.
Wiley, does the American Indian Cultural Center Foundation have any other revenue streams currently, or is it relying on?
It's relying on this money. They do fundraising, and they have raised and contributed to the state $16 million toward the construction. So they have been doing their fair share of.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any other questions? Seeing, thank you, Wally. Please cast your votes. And it is approved. Next up is the budget for next year.
Regina, do you want to cover that?
Yes, Chairman and Trustee, this is just a follow-up to what was presented to you in the last meeting in May. It's a $196 million budget across all of the funds and operating units. There have been no changes since the document you saw last month, and with your approval, it will go to City Council on July 3rd to be received. So.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Comments, questions?
No questions. Would like to move approval?
We have a motion to approve. In a second. Please cast your votes. And the budget is approved. Next up, I guess we have a guest speaker.
We do. We do. I'd like to introduce Aubrey McDermott. For those of you who may not have met her before, she's the city's planning director, and she's going to present to you information about eligibility criteria and guidelines for our new affordable housing program. And just as a reminder, the affordable housing component was included in the GOLT bond authorization that went to the voters in September. So we're really excited about this new kind of incentive that we may have to offer to help make affordable housing happen.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. Happy to be presenting our proposed guidelines and criteria, eligibility criteria for this program. And as Kathy mentioned, the 2017 bond did establish the $60 million for the Economic and Community Development Measure, which was passed, and the intent of that was to take a portion of it. Council expressed the intent for a $10 million portion of that to go to an affordable housing program. So staff has been working together to create some eligibility requirements and guidelines for the process for this program to implement it. And I just wanted to kind of go back a few steps and remind everybody the purpose of the program and the benefits that we would get out of this, and that many documents and many studies have proven the fact that Oklahoma City does need to establish more affordable housing in our market, and that our comprehensive plan has many policies about this as an economic and community development tool. And I did just want to cite a few statistics from that, which are not up on the slide, but that in Oklahoma City, about 50% of our residents pay more than 50% of their income toward housing. And Oklahoma City currently builds 5 affordable units for every 100 existing households that do pay that 50% or more in their income toward housing. So there's a gap in affordable housing. At the same time, our rent growth environment is increasing in Oklahoma City, but we do have high opportunities for this, and these incentives are going to be important to get mixed income housing integrated throughout Oklahoma City in places where people need to utilize affordable housing for access to their jobs and to other amenities around our city. So the summary of the program is a goal to allocate approximately $1 million per year towards this $10 million program, and that no single project would be allocated more than $2 million. And of course, these are guidelines. If there's an exception to that or a specific project, that would be subject to the review of the process and ultimately a city council decision to appropriate more than that goal of $2 million per project. The program can actually provide some flexibility in how those funds can be used to help support and facilitate affordable housing based on the developer's needs. So it could be in the form of low-interest loans or grants or for the city and its agents. The projects could be large or small, and we would establish a preference for the placement of units in mixed-income neighborhoods that have access to quality schools and transit. So the amount of incentive funds that are allocated to a given project would also be proportionate to the number of affordable housing units that were created. And the process is similar to many of the processes that we currently use, in that the Economic Development Program Manager for the city, which is Brent Bryant, would accept and receive the applications for this program, and then city staff would perform its due diligence in the evaluation of the proposed project and assess the applicant's experience and financial viability of the project. And then an Affordable Housing Review Committee would evaluate those projects based on their ability to create the affordable housing units in a manner that's consistent with our requirements and with our preferences of this policy. And then those committee members that are appointed by the city manager could include city staff members, members of the Alliance for Economic Development, the Oklahoma City Housing Authority, and the Oklahoma Housing Finance Agency. That committee would then make recommendations to this board, to this trust, and then the city council would review the recommendations and make a final decision on all applications. So I wanted to go over a few of the requirements that create the eligibility for the program, in that we've established an area median income of below 80% of the American area media income, tongue-tied, with a preference for 60% of the area media income. We also are establishing an incentive-based program, so it's going to be based on need. So the funds are only going to be used to bridge a demonstrated gap in the financing the affordable housing projects, assuming a reasonable rate of return on investment. The applicants have to demonstrate that their project would not be possible without this fund. Payments normally are made only after performance is proven. However, this trust and city council do have the ability to waive that requirement for exceptional projects, and clawback provisions can be established for those projects as well. And this, the last eligibility requirement is that the affordability period must be at least 20 years or for the term of the assistance. And then in terms of preferences, we've stated multiple preferences that we would evaluate for each project, and that each project doesn't have to meet every single preference requirement, but should comply with the majority of these, and I wanted to highlight a few of those. That the project should be located in an area that's convenient to jobs and schools and transit and grocery shopping. We'd like to encourage people to integrate affordable housing into market rate developments or within neighborhoods. The location of these projects is also something that the city has established a preference for our neighborhood revitalization areas or our strong neighborhoods initiative areas. So these would be in areas of revitalization focus for the city. And that I mentioned before, 60% AMI would be a preference, even though 80% would be the minimum requirement. And that these projects could serve residents with needs, such as the elderly or the disabled, and that the redevelopment of abandoned buildings or brownfields would be a preference for the program. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Aubrey?
Aubrey, I think I already know the answer, but obviously with those preferences, Boulevard Place, with it having 34% of affordable units, does not qualify for affordable housing initiatives, does it?
Well, it's not the percent of units that would qualify it for that. So the percentage of the total number of units isn't a guideline in this. The fact that it's integrating affordable housing into the project and the project is within an area qualifies it
Gotcha.
to receive assistance.
Thank you.
Action from the board. A motion is second. Please cast your votes. Thank you, ma'am. Next up, general manager reports.
The general manager report is in your packet. The financials are through April 30th of 2018. Just a note about the outlet mall, their sales from August of 2017 to April of 2018 are at $106 million, which is 3.7% above the same months for last year, so it's continuing to perform well, and I think reflects some of the changes in the change in ownership and kind of trying to reposition the mall a little bit, so good news.
The change in ownership also had a commitment from the folks that were taking over to do some artistic enhancements or architectural enhancements. Has that been accomplished?
They've painted it, they've redone all the parking lots, I think, now. Regina's my person who drives by. They've redone the signage, yeah. I haven't been out there quite as, I don't drive by it every day. Regina does.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we do not need a vote on that. It's time for comments from staff. Any staff like to make any comments? Seeing none, comments from trustees? Again, seeing none, any citizen wishing to be heard? Thank you for your patience and indulgence. Hope you got a productive meeting, got some good information from it. We are adjourned.